Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Tuesday lighting critique for everyone in the States. I hope you had a long, lovely holiday weekend. We're going to start with Kat's project here, and this is a early preliminary thing. We were just chatting about it. So Kat's just looking, we're going to be updating the shaders on the characters. But out of the gate, Kat wanted to talk about the camera, just kind of because she's doing the camera movement, the general time of day, that kind of stuff. She watched Jurassic Park as reference, and we were talking about she was talking about the brontosauruses popping up out of the trees as reference, and kind of keeping this more midday. I'm saying all this because I want her to talk less because she's driving somewhere, and I don't want her focused on what I'm saying. So Kat, please don't listen to me. You can watch the recording later. I promise that I'm actually recording. I think. Let me double check that before I say that for sure. Yeah, we're recording. Okay, cool. So my first reaction to this is that there were two things that came up to me. One was the space. I mean, I guess I could kind of there's just not a lot that ties the two spaces together. And so I think one of the things that you want to look for in the lighting is the opportunity to really kind of set the stage a little bit to tie these two shots together. Mostly because and actually I'm looking at this, I didn't even realize that down here was the dinosaur behind that tree. It almost feels like we should just move that tree so we can see what's going on. Because there's two things, there's one of two things that are kind of going down. You either want this to feel, because this is the audience is introduction, monkey swinging, going up and going down. Right now, it just looks like a monkey just hanging out in their natural habitat. But then we see it's actually attacking a dino, which is a real shock, considering that I don't think those two things live together at the same time period. But my thing is that so it's either needs to be a surprise that's what's happening, and really that happens when the monkey itself is surprised, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like the monkey is on the prowl. So I'm questioning why we would half hide the dino down here. I feel like we need to be in on it and see it actually go down. A small thing that you want to watch out for with the camera move is to not allow. You can allow the monkey to go out of frame a lot or none at all, but to do it a little bit is problematic. So I would say, you can, because right now the camera is just pulling back, and I think you can follow the monkey a little bit, with the from the point of view, as it at this point it's imagine you're a human, just like a regular person. You're watching this, and you watch the monkey go down, then you watch the monkey go up, and then you can kind of follow your eye down here and whether or not that's seeing the dino or not. In terms of this camera move, I don't really have any big notes on it. It actually feels pretty. Please, somebody else, if somebody else has some more camera experience than me, I actually think that this feels pretty good from a camera motion standpoint. It just kind of glides one way, slows in, stops, and then I think it's good. It comes back the other way a little abruptly, but I think that's actually okay given because the camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
I might get rid of that last move back. I think that was it auto keyframed something when I was messing around with it.
Got it. Yeah, it's because the camera moves are really soft, and it's definitely not like a Michael Bay style fight sequence. Okay, so in terms of the lighting itself, the one thing about the reference that you were just talking about is that was and it was the scene where Dr. Grant and the little girl are up and the kids are up in the tree, and the brontosaurus's heads pick up, or is it the very first scene where they're seeing them from the Jeep?
The very first scene when they're seeing it from the Jeep.
Got it.
So I know this has a little bit more God Ray look into it. but that's kind of the rough idea I'm going for.
It's an interesting choice for reference because these are two very different feels. Like that was an like holy crap, it's a dinosaur moment, where it's just like, oh, like it's the theme song kicks in. I loved watching that documentary on Jurassic Park where Sam Neill, the guy who plays Dr. Grant, like where he talks about like he takes like Spielberg tells him to take off his sunglasses for effect, which is not a thing people do when they want to see something better. You don't remove your glasses. Generally you whatever. But it was like, I guess he wanted to see with his natural eye, but it was like that dramatic move. That was that feeling of that moment. This feels more like a battle. So I'm wondering if so it's just something to keep in mind with reference. We can certainly do middle of the day. And I think with that, what you want to do with the trees around, even if we remove the one in the first shot, I think we can get away with this, is create, because this is a boxing match or a wrestling match, or there's a ring, and we want to like feel that ring by allowing the overhead sunlight to hit the trees around and create a patch of light right in the middle for these two characters to really go at it. So what that means is I think it's like darkening around the perimeters of the shot and the action, and really setting. It's almost like stage lighting for them in the middle here.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in terms of like the general setup, that's how I would do it, and then.
So like less backlight, more kind of top light on them. And the other thing I can do with the opening shot. I'm sorry.
If it's noon, you're not gonna get that kind of backlight on them, because that's more the golden hour time period, is when the sun is that low in the sky. So it would be more. It would be definitely more top down on them. If we're doing mid-afternoon. If you want to go later on, it's fine. But either way, I think the feeling of this whole thing feels as much Jurassic Park as it does Rocky. And that with these two like duking it out, so I kind of want to like visually set that stage, because the camera and the framing of everything is kind of setting up that way. I'd love to open it up if you guys have any other thoughts.
I mean, I would
go ahead.
I would just say, as far as reference goes, like, yeah, that first sequence from that film is iconic, but there's nothing. I don't want to say this because I don't really feel like it's 100% true, but like there's not much creatively going on in that sequence. Like it's literally just them out in a field in Hawaii. And it was like whatever the day was. I'm sure if like the day was muggy, they would have like canceled and like moved, like transitioned it. But like if you look at that set, it was just like they were controlling with like bounce boards and like shaders and like, you know, shade makers. If you want to look for something a little more designer, I would like, you could look at like King Kong 2005, which has basically this setup, and you could, I mean, just look and see what like designers did in there. I mean, I don't know, like, not that natural lighting is something bad to like, reference, but it just feels like there's probably not much creatively, because I think the challenge then was just to make the animal look like it was in the world, not necessarily that the lighting was spectacular, right? It was like, oh my God, we just got to make this thing look right.
I think like a sunshiny, cloudless day was like, all right, this feels like the easiest that we can do.
This feels like this feels like the way we're gonna go.
Yeah, that's cool. But this has got some fun potential. Watch out for those rocks in the foreground. They feel like they're floating on you. I'm looking at those.
They are floating. I messed up. I'm putting the whole world together, so I messed up.
Unacceptable. No, I'm only teasing. Okay.
I guess I have a question. Mike, maybe you can answer it, because I know you've said like video games aren't 100% your wheelhouse, but like the more I'm looking into this and the more like I've been doing Unreal, like just video tutorials and stuff, it just feels like that the goal is not to necessarily shape the character or shape the assets, like, because it feels like they stay pretty stringent to this like sky dome thing that they insist on implementing. Like it just feels like the goal is to like, oh my God, light up the space with like light sources that are in there and existent, and then like let the rest fall into place. Like, am I wrong? Like it just feels way less It seems weird to say that because I just played Destiny for like a ton of hours yesterday, and it's gorgeous. But like, what makes it gorgeous?
Right. I think there's a lot to be told here. So up until now, because what I preach, what I talk about in the critiques and in the classes and everything that we do, it's not based on animation. It's based on image making for the past, whether it's photography, painting, film, animation. It's all like telling a story, setting a mood, creating a thing. All of those mediums I just discussed had a fixed viewer perspective, right? The author, the creator, determines what the audience is looking at. There's a frame, there's a projected image. It's like, this is what you're going to see. And so it's like this box. Video games and this world is the major... From a visual standpoint, the major things that the audience has control over where they're going. Now, I personally don't think that means that everything else gets thrown out the window. I think we still need to direct the viewer's eye. I still think that, we need to, and we experimented with this at Blue Sky. We had a VR setup, and with this idea of we had a term for it, but I forget it now. It's basically like non-controlled image space, where the audience can control it. And the idea was like, you use these techniques that we've talked about, shaping, to direct the viewer's eye where we want. We still want to create the mood in the scene. We still want to do all the same stuff. But yeah, I think Unreal as an engine, as a renderer, is also... it's pretty young and still developing, and definitely still young and developing on the sides of using it for anything other than gaming. So I think there'll be more. I think there'll be more of a shift back to it. Because, like you said, the games that are beautiful the same reasons that films are beautiful. All those Unreal, like when Unreal Engine 4 came out, and now that Unreal Engine 5 is going to come out, and they release all these gorgeous demos. They're gorgeous cinematically, like from like a cinematic perspective. So I think it's going to be a new way of doing a traditional thing, if that makes sense. So I agree with you, Aaron, that like they don't give you the tools because they don't think about it as a 3D tool. They think about it as a gaming tool, and like so much of the gaming world is about like, let's just, because it's a lot of it like the artists that we're creating, we're like, we just need to create lights. We just need to be able to see it. We just need to like demonstrate that it's night, demonstrate that it's day. But as these engines become more powerful, and because like it's happening, right? Like we can all see it. We can all see these like these GPU renderers getting faster and these real-time engines getting better, and all of a sudden they're just going to do this, and they're both going to do the same thing, but they're coming at it from two totally different angles. It's like faster, better. Oh, dang, we're doing the same thing, aren't we? So I think that's ultimately where we end up with this. Sorry, that was a long way around to that.
No, it's fine. Like, and I realize I'm kind of like monopolizing conversation. It just, I don't know, man. Like, just everything I've done in Unreal. I mean, I haven't really done anything, but like we were thinking about, I was like shifting. Like, I had that Raptor. I was like, well, do I take it into Unreal? And it's like, it's not going to look as nearly as good in Unreal as it's going to look if I do it in Arnold.
Yeah.
But Unreal just opens up this whole, or real-time rendering, I shouldn't even say Unreal.
Yeah.
It opens up this whole, like, balloon of job opportunities that, it's like, hey, you need real-time experience. It's like, well, okay, sure, I guess I can, I guess I understand why, but you're not even using Unreal, so why?
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
A lot of it is, it's the newest, it's a new buzzwordy kind of a thing. So I agree. I was just looking for a job. The job that I have now, you must have Unreal experience. I was like, okay. I don't. I don't. I think, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think that is like saying, you need Python experience, you need this, you need that. Like, I don't allow the job description to stop me from applying to it. Because again, I've been on the side of writing the job descriptions it's not always the person doing the hiring that writes those things. So long way of saying, like, you know, we've got that course with Jordan that'll give you some exposure to Unreal. You'll get familiarity with it, and a lot of it too is just like learning curve frustration. Like, I don't know how to do this yet in this software because I'm so used to doing it another way. Like, I just get frustrated by it, right? Like, this is Ubed. It's like this is done in Unreal. This looks pretty rad. Like, I think a lot of it too is just getting used to it ourselves, and then we can
that's
make
fair.
images. So, yeah. Oh, look at that! Back to our subway line. This is a New York City subway train, and our W. The Q is the new one. That was the one that just opened like a year ago. Okay. All right, cool. Let's hop in. Actually, you know what, Ubed, I've got you here. I mentioned how cool your thing is looking, so we'll go ahead and do yours first here. So we've got, again, perfect transition from the. We've got some subway reference from video game stuff. This looks very accurate. This looks really good. So between the two that you posted, I agree that the second one that's got a little bit more warmer light, although like this one probably is more accurate, I guess, to the lighting scenario that would be in here. The complexity of the lighting in this one is much more appealing. Like this kind of it goes from like a more of a monochromatic image to both warm and cool, which is nice. Also, a lot of it too is the like the kind of say the bright points are there in this one versus the other one. Like if we increase the bright points a little bit brighter here, it'd be good too. So I actually think we probably go even a little bit more with this. So that'd be the first thing, is I want to pump more light, especially onto the characters, and into the scene as a whole. I love some of these details that you're getting, like the specularity on the ground. Like, do you see how there's like a breakup and it feels like there's dirt and dust and like gunk on the ground? I think that's really cool. It would be even like there's two layers to that type of buildup. Number one is that it exists, and number two is that it feels like it was formed kind of organically. Like if you could feel a bunch of, because it like in its use, there would be people coming down these stairs and like maybe down this way or something. If you could like feel that footprint flow of traffic that was one there, that's like another level up. But I love that it's there. I missed the corpse, or that it might be a robot. I don't know what's under there. That I missed that thing the first couple times I looked at it. Like it took me a few seconds before I was like, oh, there's a thing there. I wonder if this is what the story is, that it's like these robots around this thing. I think what we can do is, it almost makes me want to.
I missed that too.
Yeah.
I didn't see the corpse either.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. That's great feedback, because, and again, this is totally up to you and the story that you want to tell with this. What I would do if I wanted to focus the attention there, I would, I don't think I can lock this up. Let's see if we can. I would tone down what's going on back there. I would make, let's do it this way. I would tone down the light coming in from the back there. I think it's really nice, but it's not helping us tell the story back there. And then, this is going to be super janky. I apologize ahead of time for this. And then what I would do is I would then really amp up the light kind of coming down here and pretend like, for whatever reason, this one light is like an exposure level brighter than all the rest. Do that again. Because what that can do is then create like a little bit of an effect that gets our, because like you're never going to, something like in this realm. And you're never going to get this black bag to be super bright, just because the nature of it. Like, you've got some really nice specular highlights on there, and I think that will read. But what we need to do is kind of feel this area, and then we can kind of zero in on it a little bit. That's a super janky thing, but I think that's a way I would go, because I love the introduction of this light over here, and I think that's working really well. It does, but and that doesn't allow us to interfere with what we're trying to focus on there. So I would tone down what's going on in the back, and then to make that a little bit brighter, and we can really focus in there. And let me make sure we go back to the original here. The other thing is, like, and the last thing I'll say here is that these, just on this robot over here, there's like some red elements that are kind of half glowing, half not, and I'm not quite sure where those fall. Like, I'm not sure if those are light sources coming out of him or just like reflectors or something like that. So I would, because I'm not seeing him on the other two. So and there's just like not. I would consider just allowing this one to just kind of be in the shadow a little bit. Speaking of shadows, and now this will really be the last thing I say, the values you're getting in here are really beautiful. Like the softness, the fact that you can read all this stuff, but it's not like hit you over the face, is really, really good. Are there any other thoughts on this one? Or Babe, do you have any questions?
Oh my, thanks.
Cool. Yeah. Really, really good stuff, though. All right, let's work back to front here. Theo, although you're not, Theo, I'll tell you what, we will come back to you in just a minute. I want to get the people that are live here in case they have somewhere to go. Clarissa, this is cool. I do want to make these central things a little brighter in your bokeh. And then also, these are a little bit hard-edged. I would soften them just a little bit more. The eye is looking pretty good. I'd like the darker eye a lot. Maybe a little bit darker on the nose too. I think that'll help if we pull down the nose a little bit. I don't know if that's anatomically correct, but I think I just want to read, because like bunnies are all nose, eyes, ears. Like reading that whole thing would be good. How you feeling about this?
Good, yeah, that's good feedback. I'm happy with how far I've come from the beginning, so thanks everyone for your help so much.
You are so kind. Yeah, no, it's going great. Like, you're doing really, really well. But in terms of that, I think that's really all I have. The only thing that I'm thinking too is that these, like, if you just kind of focus in on the color patches inside the wing, like if I just kind of look at this one, it almost feels like it's clamped a little bit, like the value wants to go a little bit brighter. So just maybe allow these values to go a touch brighter if possible. It might be in the shader. I don't know. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I'll try to. Do you mean just like the bright parts of the wing to be
so
brighter?
like not even the bright parts of the wing. It's you know what it is? These larger sections, like something like this section here. I could see where around the edges of it gets pretty thick, and it won't quite allow all the light to pass through, because it needs like more material to be firm against that. I guess that's not actually structure in a butterfly wing. That's actually just color. But either way, I would want something more like this, where the center of it continues to get brighter. Because maybe something more, even just like that. Because what's happening is that it's like getting a little bit brighter until it gets to about here, and then it just kind of it has an even tone to it. So by pushing it just a little bit brighter, and actually let me even isolate this down to just like the center area. It's just like, that's just a little bit more brightness and allowing kind of light to penetrate through. It creates a little bit more shaping in there too. But does anybody else have any thoughts on this? Yeah.
I'd like to buy a print of it when she's done.
There you go. You got your first. You can NFT it, and then you can sell it for $4 million to Kat, or whatever those things go for now. But that's a lovely, lovely, lovely. That's the best compliment you could say. All right, cool. Next up, we have Austin. So we've got Austin. We've got these original references, and then so this one goes with this, and this one. And like I said, these aren't necessarily 100% identical matches, but it's just like our sources of inspiration. So, right. So with this one, it's great to see this reference again, Austin. Thank you so much for sharing this. I think the biggest with this is I do just think that we need to pull back on the saturation on the warmer values just a little bit. I think coming in more like in this range kind of help it out. And actually, now that I did that, it gets a little bit darker. So go ahead and brighten it back up. The hair's looking a lot better. I want to just find more specularity in the forehead. And then I want to get some more... Let's take a look at this. I'm looking at her eyes right now. I guess in this particular pose in this character, we don't see much in the way of reflection or anything. But for me, I would... Make this a little longer before I do this. I would still want a little... That left one is going to be too bright. Actually, they're both a little too bright. But the idea being that I would want to see some sort of like kind of just like a, and again, because it's a CG character, the real life characters we don't necessarily need eye dings because there's like all this belief that they're alive. But with CG characters, we constantly run into the problem of it being the uncanny valley. And so we always want to make sure that the eyes are reading no matter what. So this is what I would do. I would add a little bit of specularity across the head, just to get maybe a little more color in there, a little bit more value shaping across. Same thing with the chin area too. Just these like broader sections I think could use it. I would put not only these like eye dings like this, and definitely make this one less bright than I currently have it. But I would also put in, I would do a reflection pass in the eyes too, so that there's some sort of like environment that's being picked up. Because even though we're not really seeing it that much here, I think for our character, being a CG character, we really want to make sure that the audience can have some sort of connection and that it definitely feels more human. Watch out for the depth of field here on the earrings. I'm just seeing that. It looks like it gets a little something janky is happening there. So just looking at that. And then take down this highlight on the shoulder because we want the brighter brights to be on the face. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the other one. And then I'll kind of open it up to see if anybody has any comments on the two. So it's so cool. Like, it's amazing that this is the same character because they feel so different now. This feels like even just like looking at her from the different angles, she feels very, very different. Speculating the skin looks this. I love the value on the eyes on this one. You know what? I was looking at the wrong reference again. So like, yeah, actually like this. Like, do you see how there's some like value in his eye, and we're getting that little bit of an eye ding there? Just something like that would be really good. Sorry about that. For this other one, I think this one, the eyes look really good. The whites might be, especially on this side, might be like an inch, like a slight bit too bright, but overall it's really good. Specularity on the skin looks beautiful. Same deal. I'd put some too big, but I would put some eye dings in here as well. Ding ding. Just kind of help that out. Actually, let me do it here so we can kind of fade it down. Even just something like that is super little, but it really does help. And then, Yeah, I think this one's looking really good. Do you have any questions, or is there anybody else have any thoughts?
Hey, Mike, can you go back to the first one really quick?
Yeah. You better not be driving right now.
No, I'm not. I'm at the dealership.
Yeah.
I promise. If you look, my thing that I'm thinking is on the, because you were talking about the specularity on the forehead,
Mm-hmm.
and I know working with this character, her hair gets in the way on the forehead also. Maybe just putting a speck light or brightening up that a little bit, because she's got a harsh shadow, but the backdrop does not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the reference, the whole background is in shadow too.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks weird for her to be that dark without the backdrop being that dark. So maybe either lighten her up a little bit or make the backdrop darker. But I think it seems like too harsh of a shadow on her face.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really, really good point about the background not getting. Yeah, because there should be even just like a gradient of exposure difference on the background. Let me try that real quick. That's way too much, but
Because I know when I worked with this character, I ended up using just a speck light to get a bit more light on her face because her hair is solid and it casts solid shadows. So you kind of had to finagle with it a little bit.
yeah, for sure. Like that's definitely adding a light that only emits specularity is a really and kind of doing it in a spotlight so you can isolate just like a certain area. I think is really, really good. Let's do this. Let's kind of mock it up here real quick. Yeah, just having some even, and actually even this side of it too could probably come down just a touch.
I was actually going to ask for advice about the forehead because it just feels so big and empty.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I would do one of two things. Either take a spotlight, turn off its ability to emit diffuse value, and just have it come in from the key side and just add a little bit of specularity up there and have it not really hit the hair or anything else, and just kind of like really zero it in on her face. The other thing that you can do is because of the way that the shaders are, if you put an object off camera, like a plane or just something simple, and make that a very, like, imagine it being like a bounce card, reflection card, something in a photo shoot that can really help give shaping just by her skin being reflective and reflecting off of it. I would do one of those two things. But I think probably the spec only light would probably give you the best results.
Oh, I'll try it.
Yeah. But yeah, and I also love the comment of the dark background because it is true. Like, if there's a lot of contrast in the character, having a background that feels like it's not in the same lighting scenario is good. Or it's bad, I should say. Making it so that there is some kind of like shadow fall off in the background will really help out a lot. More so too because the darker the surroundings on on an object, the lighter the object itself feels. So, but yeah, these are looking great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the advice, Kat.
Yeah, of course. All right, cool. All right, so we will do Anton's and then I will jump back over into Theo's. Okay. Anton, great stuff. Looking really beautiful. For me, the one thing that's kind of missing is bounce light from so we've got this light coming in this way. It's hitting the ground, and everything in the key, everything that's being hit by that light is warm. Everything else is a little bit cool. What I tend to do, and what I've seen in my own observations of the world, is that when you have a light that's kind of this bright in a dark surroundings, you're gonna get some light that bounces up in here. And so for me, I would, and I'm going to get to the other aesthetic motivation here in a second. I would put like an area light right here or a bounce card or something and push more light into this, more warm light. Because I think, so that's my justification. Now it's my aesthetic reasoning. the cool light on these warm flowers is kind of pulling out some of their saturation and pulling out some of their value. So we're like, especially these white flowers now just kind of feel, with the yellow interior, now just kind of feel gray. And by adding warm light, it'll make them brighter, and it'll make that yellow stand out a little bit more. And honestly, it would just kind of like fill this whole area with warmth that would really allow it to stand out from the background. Because I love the perspective on it. It's just that would be my main focal point for that. The cherry shader looks good. I think it's a little bit dark, like a touch too dark. I would brighten it up just a little bit. I played around with the idea of adding more like subsurface or something to it, but their skin is pretty opaque, so I think that's good there. Also, like, the specular highlight feels a little bit tight. It feels almost more like a marble than it does, because the skin has some texture to it that would break up that highlight a little bit more. Compositionally, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts. I'm moving around the space because it just got really sunny outside, so I'm trying to make sure I see everything. This is interesting right here. I'm not quite sure what this is. I don't know. Let me make that a little smaller. There's something happening right here that almost feels like a smudge over top of the image. Just make sure you look into that. And yeah, give that a try. I think that'll be good. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Oh, the shader on this feels a little bit consistent. Like, it'd be cool to get a little more variation in the color if possible. And this, I guess it's a daisy. I don't know flowers that well. But this daisy, again, this one should be being hit directly by warm light, because like that is right there, and then these are. But I don't feel the warmth on it very much. It still feels very cool. But this is really beautiful. This is really nice. Kat may also want to purchase this at some point as well. Kat's going to personally fund all of our artistic explorations. All right, last up.
If I could, I would.
Sounds good. All right. Theo, this is looking, you're making some good progress. I think, and I know that you said that the sky was still, you still needed a tweak. But the biggest few things for me are that the value of the character still feels pretty similar to the value of the background. Like, if we do this real quick. Like, just looking at the value, this is a luminosity test. The value of the skin and the value of the building feels pretty similar. There are some brighter elements of the wig, but there's also some bright, like, it doesn't feel like there's enough popping the character off in the background a little bit. So I overall just want to make the character brighter. Pull out some of the saturation now. And the other big thing is the eyes of the character, and I just exaggerated it by making it brighter. But if you look even at the original, the screen left eye is very bright compared to the screen right one, and it feels like that should be flipped. Like, the eye that's closer to the light source would actually be a little bit brighter. Neither of them should get quite this bright, but like, if you're trying to make one brighter, I always make the Quayside one a little bit brighter. And then the wings itself are getting more and more leathery, but I would keep encouraging you to push it further. And then we can deal with the background on the next iteration. And I would the hat looks great. I still think that we're getting too much light on this screen left ear. And I'd really just kind of like to tone that one down a little bit. if you want, if you could, and please, tell me no if this is not a possibility. I would love to play with this image a little bit in Nuke. So if you could render out like, and this is an ideal world, and this is the part where you could tell me no. Ideally, we could have the background as one render, with all the lights turned on is totally fine. And then the character is on a separate one, just by itself. And I would love to get the key light from the light coming down here. I'd love to get like the main key light as one render pass, and then all the other lights as another render pass, as a different render. And if you could send me those files, I would love to try and assemble those in Nuke and really kind of help you define the look of this, because I think there's some potential here. Yeah. All right, guys. So that's it for today. I got to hop, but does anybody else have any last thoughts or ideas before we break for the day? All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in. I meant to mention this at the beginning. I'll do it tomorrow. We are looking for collaborators on our TikTok page. Basically, Jasmine and I started it like a month ago. We hired somebody to help us get it up and running. And we were having a conversation with him this morning about getting some more student collaboration, and getting some more voices on there, and allowing we thought it was a great opportunity to use our platform to amplify your guys' voices and get some of your thoughts out there too. So it's a teeny tiny little following right now, but hopefully it'll grow. And so if anyone's interested, just make sure you send me a direct message. But I will say that again in the future, before we are, like 40 minutes into a recording. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. All right. Happy lighting, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.